This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated's newsletter, Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter, Volume 28, Number 24. And in this, the last issue of the year 2024, we at Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hannukah, both of which, for some reason, fall on the exact same day for the first time in my 82 years. This last issue of the year contains articles on the following subjects, starting with A Christmas Fable of Fraud. ZIFL publishes this story at Christmas time every year. I hope you like it again. The story is fiction, based in part on a true case worked on by me. Any similarity to real people is unintentional. It's meant only to educate fraud professionals about how some unscrupulous people use the crime of insurance fraud for fun and profit during the Christmas season. Raymond Alexander had no religion. He cared only for himself and the money he could take from good-hearted people. Of course, this is just a Christmas fable. Insurance fraud perpetrators, even if they feel they have been caught and will never recover, merely redouble their efforts and perpetrate more frauds so that they can make up for the few where they are caught. Raymond Alexander gave a Christmas present to the insurance industry, but is still loose to take advantage of the old, the poor, and the weak, who are prime candidates for a bunco artist like Raymond. Insurers, unlike an octogenarian widow, are better able to protect themselves from a bunco scheme. The Christmas present I would like is a state government willing to prosecute every insurance fraud to the limit of the law. I dream of insurance industry willing to spend the money necessary to fight insurance fraud and make sure that the fraud perpetrators are prosecuted and sued for every dollar they have to regain any money paid by an insurer to a fraudster. Santa, this is what I want as a gift to me and the entire world. Governments and insurers willing to fight insurance fraud and give no quarter to the fraud perpetrator. You can read the full story and the full issue of ZIFL at the link provided in Adobe PDF format. Next, there's a story about why fraud as a defense is insufficient to allow the plaintiff suing his insurer to sue under a pseudonym, because the law requires that a trial must proceed under the plaintiff's true name. Plaintiff sued State Farm under a pseudonym. The court subsequently issued an order requiring plaintiff to proceed using his actual name. Plaintiff appealed that order, and he now seeks to stay the court's order while his appeal is pending in a case called James Doe vs. State Farm General. The United States District Court for the Northern District of California on November 26, 2024, refused the stay. You can read the full article and the full issue at ZIFL at the link provided in Adobe PDF format. Next is an article entitled Chutzpah, Get Away with Murder and Complain About the Sentence when a woman burns her husband to death for insurance money and pleads to avoid jail. Mendy Powell Neal, who was charged with the first-degree premeditated and felony murder of her husband and the aggravated arson of their home, entered a North Carolina versus Alford plea, where the best interest of the plea was to plead a voluntary manslaughter in exchange for the dismissal of the felony murder and aggravated arson counts of the presentiment, and an agreed range of 3 to 4 years, with the trial court to determine the length and manner of service of the sentence. At the conclusion of the sentencing hearing, the trial court denied the defendant's request for judicial diversion, determined she was not a suitable candidate for probation or other alternative sentencing, and sentenced her as a Range 1 standard offender to 4 years at 30% in the Tennessee Department of Corrections. In the case called State of Tennessee versus Mendy Powell Neal, the Court of Criminal Appeals of Tennessee on November 26, 2024, affirmed the trial court's order that she spend at least her time in the state prison. You can read the full article at the link provided. Then there is more McClenny, Mosley, and Associate issues. This is ZIFL's 39th installment of the saga of McClenny, Mosley, and Associates and its problems with the federal courts of the state of Louisiana and Texas, and what appears to be an effort to profit from what some magistrate and district judges consider to be criminal from insurance claims relating to hurricane damage to the public of the state of Louisiana. In this iteration, MMA apparently continued its fraudulent conduct while cases were stayed. In a case called Ben Jacobson versus USAA Casualty, the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Louisiana on December 3, 2024, dealt with an attempt to avoid the lack of counsel because of MMA lawyers had resigned or were suspended. The attempt failed, and the case was remanded for trial. Next is a list of health insurance fraud convictions, including one where a Long Island medical doctor was convicted of illegally distributing oxycodone pills. Dr. Roya Jafari Hassad operated a pill mill out of her Great Neck, New York office. A federal jury in Central Islip, New York, returned a guilty verdict against her, with a practice in Great Neck, Long Island, on 8 counts of a second superseding indictment charging her with prescribing oxycodone pills without a legitimate medical purpose. The verdict followed a 10-day trial before United States District Judge Gary R. Brown. When sentenced, Dr. Jafari Hassad faces up to 20 years in prison on each count. The defendant was acquitted on witness tampering charges. Dr. Hassad was a drug dealer who dispensed highly addictive oxycodone pills without any regard for the well-being of the patient, but with plenty of interest in their cash. You can read the full article and dozens of other convictions of health insurance fraud at the link provided in Adobe PDF format for the entire ZIFL for December 15, 2024. Next is convictions of other than health insurance fraud, where a person was found to be guilty to a fraudulent injury scam at a casino. Tonya Weber, age 35, of Marshalltown, Iowa, pled guilty on December 5, 2024 to 1 count of permitting false information a Class D felony. Weber pled guilty to one count of presenting false information to an insurer over an alleged fraudulent injury at a casino following an investigation by the Iowa Insurance Division's Fraud Bureau. You can read the full article and other convictions for other than health insurance fraud at the link provided in Adobe Acrobat format. Finally, I, Barry Zalma, am located at 444 Once Sepulveda Boulevard, Culver City, California, and can be reached at my telephone 310-390-4455. I am the only employee of the business, Barry Zalma, Inc. I answer my own phone, and I no longer practice law. I've retired from the practice for more than 15 years. I publish daily articles on Substack and on my blog, and I am available to act as a consultant or expert witness to any lawyer who inquires. Thank you for your attention.